So, today was the big day. We spent 6 hours, 3 hours this morning, 3 hours this afternoon with the singers working through the show. We've heard the whole thing all the way through. What do you think?
Well, first of all, like in any process, there's always surprises. So I had probably, first of all, emotional response to actually hearing it for the first time, and then hearing some of the subtleties that I wasn't really, you in your mind sometimes you're thinking, well, I'm thinking, this will be really interesting to hear this intention or this accent that I've placed here to really see, if that subtlety comes through, right? Like almost sometimes the accents are not just like rhythmic conventions, but for intention or for even subtext. So I was hearing a little bit of that today,
Right.
which I really wasn't expecting to hear on the first day, but I think as it progressed, like the afternoon session, when Tyson was really working really hard with them on specific sections, I was hearing that within the choir, Helen's choir, and that really thrilled me to hear that part coming through. And what I wasn't surprised about is that I do write pretty complex music. So, in a situation like this, I know that it has to be a very intense periods of time, right, to focus on everything. And I have no doubt in my mind that it's going to be pretty incredible. And we make adjustments as we go along. And luckily, so far, the adjustments have been minor. And it's expected,
Right.
It's part of the whole process. Yeah, I'm really excited.
So, mentioning complexities, one of the things I shouldn't say all, but a lot of modern opera is challenging just because modern tonality is not what Mozart wrote, not what Verdi wrote. So there's already that built into doing a new piece. But the way you've approached Helen has its own complexity. Helen's voice is not a singular voice. It is an ensemble of singers. And the way you approach that ensemble is not a regular opera chorus, which would be easy to put together. What did you discover in how you worked with Helen's voices? And was it what you expected? How does that read to you?
Actually, I was really pleasantly surprised with that aspect of it. I was actually came into this like kind of paranoid about how that would, how that would read, just because of what you're saying. It's not the conventional writing for a chorus. It's conversational, and within the choir, there's conversations.
Right.
So it's not just her voice saying one thing. Sometimes they're saying multiple things, but they have to stay together because it's, one person from one person's perspective, and that's that whole idea of the subtext.
Right.
So just kind of hearing these different layers of information emerge, musical and lyrical, that I was really pleasantly surprised that it was reading like one person actually singing,
After dinner today, you talked with a couple of singers. One of the interesting things about a workshop like this is a very hands-on workshop. It's only our first day, and I know we're probably not going to make major structural changes to the piece because we just don't have that kind of time. But you have been able to work with the singers and make some adjustments. How have you been adapting the piece to work with the artists we have, and even potentially become part of the full piece as you move forward into the premiere?
It's been really nice because I'm actually very used to working on the spot and making corrections on the spot and, interacting with singers. But usually there's somebody in between, so depending on the size of the company, right? Sometimes it's like, oh, I'm going to tell this person, and then that person's going to tell this person, and, that type. At one point, in a workshop situation I just had, I was taking pictures on my phone at 1 a.m., after we had finished rehearsals, and sending it to the assistant conductor to give to the singer, that type of thing. So it's so nice to have access to the singers, and they are so gracious and you know, we talked about having the same goal.
Right.
You know, everybody has the same goal. You put your ego aside. You know, it's about serving the project, and they've been really accommodating, and yeah, and there's pianos everywhere,
Yes.
so it's wonderful. But I waited until they were done with their dessert, right?
Right.
It's like,
right.
okay, that last forkful. Come on, let's go. It's time to work.
And tonight, now that we've heard the piece for the first time, you and Corey and Mariana and Greg and I, Tyson, our conductor, we're going to all get together and have our chance to have that first conversation with you.
It's going to be great.
What do you want us to tell you, other than the fact that you're a genius, which we already agree
Uh,
on? What information are you looking to get from us now that we've all had the chance to hear it for the first time?
well, I'm always, I'm completely open to, because when, what I was doing today is I was so, like micro focused on the music. That was the big thing. And then with the music, like how, you know, the diction, like how was this understandable, you know, because even though we're going to have super titles in everything that we're doing, I love it if the audience can understand mostly what's happening, so that they're focusing on the singers. Right. So things like that, like some of the edits that I made today, I'm gonna do it with the creative team. I'm gonna let you guys know what I did, and I want to know, like, tomorrow when we hear it again, is this clear?
Right.
You know, and creating some separation between some of the voices. Yeah, but I want to know. I want to know, like, kind of like get a 360 perspective of what's happening from you guys.
Right.
Because I lose perspective of everything.
Well, I can only imagine, as we have talked about, that you've spent the last 2 years, and even before that, with your idea of this percolating in your head. You know this piece inside and out. Mariana knows this piece inside and out. You know all of the words. So I can see how it's hard to, like, you could probably sing every note of this.
Not well.
and know what it is, and
not in public.
And that's where it's helpful to have that outside perspective to see, is the text, because your brain, or at least this is the way my brain works. If I were to hear Traviata, I could sing probably all of Traviata, and so if the singer's diction isn't great, I'm not going to catch that, because my brain is going to fill in the words.
Exactly.
Your brain is probably filling in the words and the notes that the singers are still getting comfortable with. So to have that opportunity for that conversation, to see what is working from the outside. And again, that's one of the great things about, for me, in this workshop process. On Monday, we will have a small audience where we will have that opportunity to have some conversation with people who know nothing about this piece.
That's going to be wonderful.
And I can also imagine that's probably scary.
It is. It's scary, but at this point, you know, being our first workshop, I really am very curious to know, you know, really hungry for the feedback, because I have been so immersed in it. And I was telling Corey that it's like not seeing the forest for the trees. You know, I want you guys need to be the forest, you know,
Right.
and everybody else, so I understand what's happening. And I don't perceive there's going to be big structural changes. But I do, like these small things, sometimes smaller adjustments can be made, and it makes a world of difference.
Right. So we're at the end of day one. We're going to wrap up and head over and have that conversation. We've got 3 more days, and we'll do some more conversation for our audience as we're preparing for that performance on Monday. I just again want to say I can't thank you enough for inviting us to be a part of this journey, for us having this journey together, but then especially to have this really special opportunity, and to be able to invite our Birmingham family and really everybody who's going to hopefully be watching us around the world to get a little glimpse on the behind the scenes of how an opera is created. For me, that's one of the great opportunities that this gives us. You don't get to see Mozart's creative process, much less how the show happens for an individual performance. You know, you don't even get to see how it was created. So to have this opportunity is really special and really unique. So stay tuned. We're going to have some more information and more updates from our Seagle workshop pretty soon.
Thank you.
Thanks so much. Carla, we're at our final day. We've been here 5 days working on this music with these wonderful artists who have been so dedicated in bringing this story to life. We're going to do a run through for an audience. I'm going to ask you the same question I asked you the first day. How do you feel?
I am elated, exhausted. I feel like this has been the most immersive workshop experience I've ever had. And, you know, I've had quite a few and they've all been different, but this is definitely the most immersive. And I think I learned the most about the piece in this situation because I was able to see the evolution from, you know, ground zero to where we are now. And I was able to take really valuable notes to, you know, take with me and consider. And, you know, as I was saying, every workshop is different and the process is different. So it's really, this one was mainly for me to hear the music and to assess the two different worlds of Helen and how of the opera and how conversational it is using a choir. So those were the main things I wanted to go into with this workshop, and I definitely think I accomplished what I wanted to, and it's just been beautiful to hear it come to life with these singers and to be able to interact with them also, you know, afterwards in a more casual way.
Right.
Yeah, I'm so excited.
So we've mentioned before, you know, you've been taking notes, you've talked with the singers, and even some small changes have been made through this process. What happens when you go home? What's the next step?
Well, after I wake up from a long nap, I will review all the notes, right, and discuss anything that has to do with the dramaturgy. I'll discuss it with Mariana because Corey had such great feedback. I'm sure she'll have even more after today. So we discuss that and decide what we think is relevant for what we're trying to accomplish with the piece. And then I look at it musically because I have to know exactly, you know, if I'm going to make any changes dramatically and with the libretto. I have to know that before I go and make, you know, some of the changes. But the thing that makes me really happy, there are no seismic changes.
Right.
You know, they're pretty minor. Some of them I was able to do here, but the others will really depend on my discussion with Mariana and trying different things out.
I've always felt with any show, but especially for something new, it doesn't really come to life until the audience is there, because they're almost the unwritten character, because they respond so much, and that fuels what happens on the stage. What would you be, and after we do the reading today, we'll have an opportunity to talk with the audience. What piece of information are you interested in hearing from them now that, as we've talked about with the singers and what we've heard so far, what do you hope to get from the audience when they hear it?
Well, besides the technical questions I was addressing before, you know, my own about the conversational bit, you know, conversing with the choir,
right.
You know, it's interesting, to say the least. But I really want to, I'm going to be listening to the audience to see if there are laughs where I intended,
right.
You know, because there are some asides.
Right.
Because I think showing Helen with a sense of humor is part of that whole fleshing out of who she is. I want to see where people are moved or if I hear any surprises. I'm also listening to anything unintentional. Like if somebody's laughing at a part where I wasn't expecting,
right.
and it shouldn't be funny, then I'm gonna
something might need to change.
Yeah.
So I guess I'm trying to think of the best way to sum up our experience here. I mean, for me, I've been able to be a part of new work development in various phases. This is the first time me as the director of an organization has commissioned something. And to do it here at Seagle, which was so instrumental in my development as an artist and administrator, has been so very special. I mean, I guess, like, this would be my question. How do we sustain what we take from here for the next year and a half while we get to the premiere?
Yeah. Well, I think there's so many different steps. This experience at Seagle was so fulfilling in so many ways, and to be able to interface with everybody, as much as I did. So I think it's not going to be just sustained, it's going to be built upon, because our next workshop will include a little bit of staging.
Right.
So I will be able to look at it from another point of view. And then from there, I'm orchestrating. So I'm constantly excited about the piece.
Right.
Working on it. So I think that I'm already finished with orchestrating, for all intents and purposes, Act 1. So when I dive into Act 2, knowing what I know now,
Right.
it's going to actually change a little bit of what I'm doing with Act 1, and I'm going to apply what I learned here to Act 2.
Right.
And some of those things are going to be subtle, like how do I heighten the drama here?
Right.
If I'm not getting the type of reaction that I want.
Sure.
Maybe orchestrally I can kind of pull it out, in a different way. And, we talk about densities, right?
Right.
Orchestral density. Do I really, because the singing is so dense, because I'm using a choir throughout almost the whole thing.
Right.
It's going to be really interesting to see if I can make something very sparse, during those choral sections, to let the chorus be heard in all of its complexity. So this is really helping.
Great. Wonderful.
In that way too.
So I'm going to let you go get ready for our workshop,
Thank
or for
you.
the reading. I'm so excited that you have been able, our audience has been able to share a little bit of this process. We'll go home tomorrow, we'll start getting the video material ready to send out, and then we'll get to see you in a month, because you'll be in Birmingham for the first time, and see sort of another step in the generation of the piece. But I'm so glad that we've been able to do this, to have this time, to really focus on the piece, and we can't wait to share what we've learned from this, and as we continue to progress to June 2024. It's going to be here before we know it.
I know. And I just wanted to take the time to thank you, Keith.
Thank you. Thank you.
And Eleanor, do you have a camera? And Lynn, and really Darren, and the whole Seagle team here. I feel like we've been really taking care of and given the space that we needed to develop this. So thanks for all of it.
So we'll see you back home, and we'll have some more information to share on this journey. Thank you.